Hello, and welcome back to my channel if you're returning, and hello if you're new. My name is Elijah, and in today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to care for plants in the simplest way possible with watering, soil type, and lighting. Without further ado, let's get started. First things first is soil type. What you have to have in mind is where they live, like their environment and the conditions they live in. For instance, this fiddle leaf fig is more of a tropical plant or subtropical plant, which would love more moisture holding soil. So, more of perlite, or not perlite, peat moss, and just anything more absorbing. It's going to want more just water holding soil. It will appreciate well draining soil, but some other planties like this Raven ZZ, it appreciates droughts. It's used to having less water, so I mean, you could only water it once a month. So the soil is going to be more well draining soil, more sandy soil, things like that. Just like cactus and like your succulent plants, those are going to appreciate more well draining soil with more like sandy, loamy soil. Like more on the boggy side, these plants are carnivorous plants and they want to be always in water, and they just want either peat moss soil or just moss because they always want to stay wet. So you got to really think in mind their environment and what conditions they're used to being in. And if you give them the right soil, they will appreciate you and love you for it. Moving on to watering. So for watering, there's basically only two methods pretty much. There's either top watering, as you see me doing here, which is just slowly giving them water so then it doesn't leak through the bottom and like fall out of the tray. You want to slowly do it so then it can really absorb in the soil. And then the other method is just by bottom watering, which you would just get a bowl and you would put some water in it, and then you would just set your little planties in there and you would let them soak up that soil. You would make sure that the soil is saturated and is getting all the water it needs. You would let it sit in there for a few minutes, and then you would just pull it out, do a little drip drip, and it'll be good. Now, I found that the more plants you have, the harder that is to do because it takes longer. It just takes longer. So, unless you want to take a long time and really take your time with your plans and you have that time to spare, then you go do it that. Like if it works for you, works for you. What works for me is just top watering with this little canister. It's so efficient, it's so fast. It cut my watering time down on watering days from like an hour and a half to 30 minutes, like literally. So, yeah. Moving on to water propagations. So, water propagations is basically just putting a cutting of a plant in water. Um, you can do this by just chopping at the node of a plant and then sticking it in the water. Uh, it helps if you put slow release fertilizer pellets in it to speed up the process, but you don't have to. It might just take longer to get roots. As you can see, this fiddle leaf fig has been in here maybe a month and it's already developing pretty good roots. Another thing you want to keep in mind is watering time and how often you water your planties. Because most of your planties will appreciate consistent waterings, either bi-weekly, 2 weeks, or monthly, depending on what kind of plant it is. So for your more tropical plants like pothos, you want to water them weekly. So my routine is every Sunday I water my planties. But for you, it could be any other day. But they'll very much appreciate consistent watering every week on the same day. And that will encourage them to grow more, and they'll, I guess, rely on that water at that certain time, and they'll know how to use it, when to use it, in that sort of way, because plants are smart. But like for my succulents, I have been watering them like every few days because I moved them outside recently because they weren't looking as good inside, and succulents want a lot of light. They just want a lot of light and a lot of sun. But lately it's been so warm with 100-degree weather days that these dry up pretty quick. So I've just been watering them more often than I would inside. Like inside, it would be every like 2 weeks, which, as you can see, changing the environment and the conditions changed how much I water them. So I don't know. You just got to keep different aspects in mind of your planties. Lighting. What you want to keep in mind for lighting is most of these plants are outside. In their natural environment, they're outside, either getting shaded partially or getting full direct sunlight. So like these pothos they're like vining plants. So they're gonna be in more of a jungle type setting, climbing up trees, drooping down trees. They're gonna get more shade. So they're gonna want just bright and direct light, basically. They're not gonna want full sunlight like all the time, but they can take maybe a few hours of it, and they might appreciate it even, and they might get a little bigger. But if you don't have a window that faces a corner of your room, or part of your room is a little darker, you can consider grow lights. Like this lamp has grow lights in it because this corner of my room does not get sunlight. Like it just doesn't get sunlight. So I have an Aztec grow light, which is a really good grow light. Not sponsored, by the way, but it is a really good grow light that gives you almost l- mimicking sunlight, light rays. So it's going to be much stronger than, per se, these just grow light bulbs. But what you want to consider is if they can tolerate lower light as well as more light. So like in the direct morning from like sunrise to like noon it or till like 10ish, this Raven ZZ will get direct sunlight. But after like noon, she's gonna just be kind of in the dim dark over here. But I think she'll be okay because she just likes to be neglected. Some succulents and more hardy, water hardy plants honestly like to be neglected, and sometimes they appreciate it. But your more tree like plants are going to want more sun because you think in nature, they're going to get more direct sunlight, like full sunlight during the day. So they're going to appreciate at least like 6+ hours of sunlight a day. And if you can't like provide that, again, grow lights by putting them in lamps, your fan, like your light switches, anything like that. Moving on to carnivorous plants. What you want to keep in mind is they want a lot of sunlight. Just kind of like they're more like your succulents in that aspect, as in they want 6+ hours of sunlight per day of bright, even direct light, like full sun. They'll appreciate it, but not as the succulents, as they can go more drought tolerant. These cannot be drought tolerant. They want to be always wet. So they're kind of like a subtropical plant. They want to be always in water, but then as well as want a lot of sunlight. And I think I'm doing pretty good on these. I'm just going to give a special shout out to them because I have my Venus flytraps right here, and I have a butterwort, and then I have a sundew, which both of them are producing beautiful little dewdrops. I'll give you a little close up of that. I believe that my sundew is producing seeds. This right here, I believe, is going to be producing little baby sundews. Because as you can see from the middle, the little prawns go out and they fold outwards, producing dew, outwards wise, and they're coming from the center. But this right here, let's feed these Venus flytraps. Now, with carnivorous plants, you can either hand feed, as you can see what I'm doing right now, with like some tweezers. Dang, he escaped. Well, there's luckily one more trap over here. Okay, she's got him. In nature, they'll probably catch it more naturally, but because in my room I do not have as many bugs. Now, with these sticky plants, like as this butterwort and this sundew, they catch the fungus flies or the fungus gnats, whatever you want to call them. So I do have them more in my room, so they do actually catch those quite often. You can see a little fungus gnat here. You can give them ants, you can give them pretty much anything that will get stuck in there. Now, they won't really get larger bugs because those bugs can escape. The larger bugs are more for these carnivorous plants. Another thing to keep in mind with carnivorous plants, or even some of your regular plants, they'll appreciate more moisture in the air and will actually thrive better with more moisture in the air. I know that specifically these carnivorous plants at least want 50% and above of humidity because they live in boggy areas. Have a humidifier going daily. It's actually just so good. I just put distilled water in it, the same water I give the carnivorous plants because they do not want any minerals in their water. They get all their nutrients from the bugs they eat. Alrighty. I think I've covered all the bases. If I missed anything, let me know in the comments. Or if you would like to see more, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you for absorbing this knowledge here today. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. See you next time.